guys? Welcome to another Cafecito Friday. I am joined here today with Coach Mike Ward. Thank you so much for joining me today.
No problem.
So a little quick background. Obviously, if you guys haven't heard about Coach Ward, I don't know where you're living, but I call him my coachee. I had the privilege of running for him at FIU, and throughout the years, we've definitely stayed in touch, and it's been incredible. Every time I've needed help with something or some guidance, he's always been there to give some words of wisdom. I'm not trying to age you, but why don't we go ahead and just I'm gonna let him introduce himself because his resume is pretty lengthy. But yeah, so go ahead and tell us who you are for those that don't know you.
Okay. I grew up in Howard County, Maryland. Found out I was a runner playing football. So I played football in 7th and 8th grade.
What position?
I was a defensive back. They thought I was the fastest guy on the team because our coach would make us run around like 3 backstops.
Okay.
You know, and I would always take everybody. So I'm like, oh, you're the fastest guy on the team. So they put me defensive back. But anyway, I started running that way. I was really interested back in the early days of Marty LaCroix, Jim Ryan. The U.S., the mile was big time. So 95 was being built right next to my house. I measured a mile on 95. So I probably ran that mile probably for 2 or 3 years before traffic was on 95. When I was in middle school. Nobody else was running. So middle school, probably in the 60s, late 60s, nobody. I was the freak out there running on the roads. They were like, who is this guy out running, on the roads? It's snowing outside. He's out running. It's sunny. It's whatever.
Yeah.
But so background, I found that to be something that I really love to do. And I was probably a pretty average student. And then when I found out about running, and my self-confidence just went off the roof, and I became basically everything I did from that point forward, I did with passion. I did with some energy. I wanted to be successful in everything. But running was the final thing. I mean, I played baseball, I played football, I played all the sports. I was probably average at best. But running, I found I could be pretty good. And more so because I was willing to outtrain people. And when I outtrain people, you can get better than them. So Christmas Day, New Year's Day, my high school buddies that I went out with during the summer every night, and college, they would always give me grief because I would always tell them, well, I can't meet you till about 7:30 tonight because I got to get my run in. To this day, they always give me grief. Man, we were out. You could never get there till like 8 o'clock or so. I mean, back in the day, you weren't out till the wee hours of the morning.
Exactly.
So it's like, so they still give me grief. Man, you could never meet us until like 8 o'clock at night. And, we'd have to get back by like 11 or 10 or 10:30, But basically, I learned personally myself, if you outwork people, you can be very successful in this sport. And to the point where my 9th grade year in high school, I got a varsity letter in cross country. I was the first high school student at Howard High to get a varsity letter. So it was a big deal. I got in the varsity club, got my Letterman jacket. I was a big guy on campus, all that kind of stuff. I wasn't very good though. In track, I remember my freshman year, granted back then, people that were running were either really good or you didn't run. So my freshman year in the 2-mile run, the county championships, I got dead last.
What time did you run?
I have no idea. It was slow. It was slow. But anyway, I remember because we were a football power. I remember a bunch of the sprint guys coming in like, Ward, why do you want to do that? Why would you want to, why don't you pick something else, to do? So going from freshman year to senior year, in the same county championship, I lapped the entire field but for one runner. So a lot happened between freshman year and senior year. Basic was consistency and training. I wasn't an elite athlete. I didn't have anything going for me, except that I trained 365 a year all the time, you know.
Did you have that one coach that we all have, or did you? How was your coaching?
We had, and funny, I had the one coach basically all through high school. Senior year, though, which I thought was remarkable, and it just shows you don't don't look into your coaching too much. You can be successful with a number of coaches. So I had the same coach. He really, we were pretty even, nothing. I mean, I got more out of with the Roadrunner Club, the starting of the Roadrunners and stuff like that in DC and Baltimore. There was a number of people that were pretty elite runners, and I, kind of watched what they did and saw what they did. But beyond that, the coach was kind of consistent. But my senior year, like I said, my senior year of high school, we had indoor outdoor track, and we had a young football coach was my coach, Dan Ross, and he's a football guy, he's a lacrosse guy. He knew nothing about running. He had another guy and myself that were very good runners. And he made it work. He made it energizing. He made it motivating.
Yeah.
And both myself and my teammate, who was a top state guy, we got even better because we had a coach that was not only more motivating, he was getting us to do things we didn't think we could do. But so it motivated us. So it was pretty much. And then college, I went to a college, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, which is right down the road. Our coach was a 400-meter hurdler, very good, made the Olympic trials in 400 hurdles. No real distance background, but I was fortunate enough to get there, be the number one runner right away. My junior year, things started happening. We brought a bunch of guys in. We went from being kind of a 500 team to winning everything in sight. So in high school, I had a chance to be on winning teams, and in college, I had a chance to be on winning teams. So I found out how to win, which was fun. But the biggest thing I go back to is consistency in training.
What was your favorite event? Just out of curiosity.
Favorite event? We ran indoors.
Okay.
Florida people don't run indoors, but I liked to run indoors. It was a shorter track. And you ran much more laps, but for me, I liked it. I liked to run the 2 mile indoors. I really like to run the 2 mile indoors because you could hang with the fast guys and hang on for dear life and still run pretty well.
That's a lot of laps, coach. Oh, well, to be fair, we ran the 5K indoors. That's what, 25 laps.
Oh yeah, 5K indoors is yeah.
Wow. So you were like that Jim Ryan era.
Yeah, so Jim Ryan, Marty LaCroix were the Dara. I mean, there was no Runner's World. There was no running times. There was no running publication. The only publication that was Sports Illustrated. And every once in a while, during an Olympic year or during a year where you would have something significant, you would see Jim Ryan, Marty LaCroix doling or something like that, or Kip Keano from Africa. Yeah. Those guys, and they would bring it out, and man, I would be like all over it. So it was fun. And then also in my middle school years, I had a civics teacher that ran for the University of Maryland. So when he found out that I was interested in running, he took a little bit of liking to me. And then we had some clubs. We don't have the middle school system like they do in Florida. The middle school system in Florida is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So in the middle school system, we had one track meet. They just threw people together. You had a county championship in the track. But at our middle school, we had a 25-mile club. We had our coach put on a called it a marathon. I don't know how far it was. Like a 5-mile run around our campus. So we had little bits of things, and then the road running scene really picked up in those late 60s, early 70s. So I had plenty of chances to race in Maryland, DC, Pennsylvania, throughout that area there.
And I think from past conversations with you, you would race pretty frequently, wouldn't you? Or
yes, I would race a lot.
Tell me the thought process behind that.
Thought process, basically, I mean, the thought process was we didn't have the knowledge that we have today. So there was no, I mean, basically the year was spent, there were no races in the summer, or very few races in the summer. So summer was volume time, get your volume in, get ready for cross country, and then you would do cross country, and then you would have a break. We didn't have indoor track until my junior senior year. So during the indoor, January, February, March, it's cold there. You would have road races every weekend. Luckily, I ran a lot of 2-mile road races. I thought that was interesting for me because you could run fast. You didn't have to run 5Ks or 10Ks or half marathons. You could run. You would go to a race. They would have a 2-mile run, and they would also have a longer run.
Yes.
So my dad would typically do the longer stuff. I would focus on the 2 miles because I was always wanting to get faster. I mean, even to the point in our county, I was the first guy to break 10 minutes on the road 2 mile. Road 2 mile in the club that we belong to. But I like those 2 milers because I could run really fast. The 5K, you can't run as fast. It's further. It's significantly further.
Yeah.
You could go out very aggressive in the 2 mile and still hold and still have a good performance. So that was good. After college, I continued ran for a number of years in the Baltimore, D.C. area. Ran for Baltimore Olympic Club. Ran for Howard County Striders. Moved down here thinking that I had to get better because we're coming down to the sunshine and all that kind of stuff. Lo and behold, I get down here and I find that I'm like one of the better runners in the Miami, Fort Lauderdale area, and I was kind of confused by that. But anyway, for probably 5-10 years, typically the age group, I would race a lot because it kept me sharp. I mean, probably 95% of the time I won the age group. So that kept me going. I used to train at my University of Miami track back in the day.
Were you coaching yourself at this point, or were you?
Yeah, just coaching myself. No real, and working out the track there at Miami. And they pretty much had a club program. And then they brought this guy in, Rodney Price, to build a real Division I program. He was coming from the University of Nebraska. He was a tall black gentleman, hurdles and sprints. So just in passing one day, I just, hey, welcome to Miami. You never need my help. Just let me know. That was it. That was basically it. I just said, I welcomed him, said hi, went on my way, kept training. A year later, he comes up to me. And we never had any conversations in between.
Yeah.
Comes up to me, hey, you interested in coaching? I'm like, really? So I was like, again, came down here working for the VA Medical Center, working as a therapist there, had a big prime program going there. So I had all this other background coaching and my experiences. I was like, yeah. So first started off coaching part-time, working at the hospital, full-time, working part-time coaching, moved on to half-time at the hospital, half-time coaching. Miami said, because you had cross-country, indoor, outdoor track, it was a big commitment, but it was like, oh man, I love to run. I'm passionate about helping people. I mean, that's what I did in the hospital thing. I loved working with people. So that's what I did. And then
came home, told wifey, hey.
So when Coach Price was leaving, I can't remember, 5-6 years. I don't know, I think I was working there 5 years as assistant coach, 5-6 years. Come home, Coach Price says, look, I'm leaving to go to Oklahoma. What do you want to do? You want to come to Oklahoma with me? Do you want to potentially try to get the head job here? So reality is I went to Oklahoma and interviewed there, and because I didn't know what was going to happen at Miami. So I went to Oklahoma. I probably would have gone to Oklahoma. I went to Oklahoma on my trip, and it was during the middle of summer. Nobody was there. Norman, Oklahoma, in the middle of summer, nobody on campus. the wind's like straight out. I'm kind of thinking, I knew some Nike people that were in Norman that were training and working with Nike
Yeah.
in Norman, and they were like, Mike, you don't want this. So anyway, go back. So lo and behold, Miami offers me the job. So I'm like, okay, we're staying. I mean,
Was this head coaching job at this time?
yes,
Okay.
this was the head coaching job at the time. So it was Coach Dean, who was the women's coach, and then myself as the men's coach, and being in the right place, right time, all those kinds of things kind of work. Uh, the next day, the day they offer me the job, the next day they come back and go, oh, by the way, we forgot to tell you, I think Miami had 8 scholarships now on the men's side. We're going to go down to 6.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, 6, I think I can still work. Reality, we went down to 2.
Oh,
we went from 6 to 4 to 2. So it was.
What was the cost of admission at that time?
It was probably mid 30s to 40.
I mean, no, it's kind of
Yeah, significant. So that was challenging, but one of the things I learned from Howard, my high school, was the use of football athletes on the track team. So I think maybe a year went by that we were, not even that. I went straight up to Butch Davis's office, who was the head football coach, and said, look, we're getting, our scholarships are being reduced, X, Y, and Z. We did have some football guys on the track team, a handful. I'm like, could we have a greater commitment? And he's like, Coach, my dad was a track coach. So right there, I knew we were set. So basically, I mean, he would, Coach Davis would go to camp, go to practice. He would say, you, and you, track team. So he made those guys do track. So I mean, we had the Andre Johnsons, we had the Ed Reeds, the Willis McGahees, the Clinton Portises, the Daryl Joneses, all these guys came out and ran track, or threw, or jumped, or whatever. And then we had a legitimate track team. So, like I said, my first year coaching at the U, I got to coach Davian Clark in the 400 meters. And indoors, he wins the national championship. So nobody gave him a chance, especially with a distance guy coaching him.
Right.
So it wasn't even thought of. And I remember him winning the 400 at the national meet at Indianapolis. And I can't tell you how many sprint coaches come up to me after he had won and said, oh, you're the next sprint guru. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't think so. So anyway, so that was pretty cool. So indoors was pretty cool. We did pretty good. Davian wins the national championship 400 meters. I have a national champion I coach. I was like, wow, this is going pretty good. This is easier than I thought. So we go to outdoor season. We get to the Big East championship, and again, the year before we were 9th. No idea where we're going to be, no aspirations, all those kind of things. Let it happen.
Yeah.
So reality is we're winning the meet, getting 3/4 into the meet, and everybody's like, where'd Miami come from? Georgetown, which was the perennial track program on the East Coast at that time with Coach Gaggs, they pull it out at the end. But at the same time, it's like, wow, Miami, what happened with Miami, So
like a documentary in the making over here.
I'm like whatever, and then I end up getting Coach of the Year award because Coach Gaggs basically declined the award because typically the winning team coach gets the award. So they have a straw vote at the end of the meet, and Coach Gaggs like, no, the Miami coach deserves that award. And my first year, I'm Big East Coach of the Year, and
that was your
first year coaching.
Wow.
So a couple more years go by, we take second, third, for a number of years, and then couple things happen. we were very good in football. We were national powers in football, and the quality athlete I was getting from football was significant. Football was starting to drop off a little bit. Scholarships were being reduced. We were still hanging on for dear life, to stay competitive. So that kept on going on, going on, going on. At the end, I did. So at the end, when we had two scholarships, one was Tim Harris, who became a five-time All-American in the 800. So that was kind of cool. Prior to that, my first year at Miami, or my first couple years at Miami, I had a guy, Ronald Thorne, who actually went from 152 to 146 in the 800 meters. And I had a number of distance guys do pretty good. So it was coming around pretty nice. We had a nice little group, nice little things happening. I remember at one meet, I think we were at the Florida State Relays, and Bob Brayman, who's the Florida State head coach,
Yeah.
he was South Florida head coach. He goes, your guy just split 146 in the sprint medley or the DMR or something. I'm like, yeah, I know. So people were starting to notice that they're like, man, Miami's got, starting to get some distances, more of the middle distances kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so things were getting out there that Miami's got some things going a little bit. And then I just started bringing, so as the head coach, I let my assistants, kind of do their thing, but I had to recruit for the distances. So I was bringing in, we basically shotgun approached it. Anybody that was interested in Miami, we were interested in them. Sometimes that backfired, but at the same time, I was bringing a lot of people into Miami, and we were trying to get Northeast kids that could afford Miami, that were looking at the price tag, and their parents were going, oh, that's not too bad, whereas people down here were like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me, So it was an interesting balance. And then as a coach, the early years, I mean, I wish I knew 20 years, what I know now 20 years ago, and I would have been a really good coach. But so you
just teach me everything. Just teach me everything.
So you live and learn. I mean, Miami is a hot environment. Up north is a totally different environment. You can recover quicker, all those kinds of things. What you can handle down here, what you can handle up there are two different things. So again, and then my coaching philosophy changed toward the end. So I use a lot of my stuff, especially track stuff, is geared off of the English method of Ovett, Coe. The English method that I think Dr. Martin in Atlanta also utilized, and actually there's a book on it. He wrote a book on that. But what I saw was athletes that could run very good in 800 meters and all the way run up to very good at 5,000 meters. So I was like, wow, that's what I want. I want a widespread people that can be good in a wide variety of things. Because typically myself, I was a long guy. I used to hate to run the 800. I used to, even the mile, I was like, because I was never trained in it. So I think, back then they just didn't do it. Now I train, no matter if you're slow, fast, whatever, I train you in all those areas so you benefit and you become even better runner. Yeah.
So when you said that it switched, what did it go from at the beginning towards the end? At the beginning, were you more like you're a shorter distance runner or you're a long distance? No. And in the early on was pretty much my experiences. Okay. It was my experiences. And, what I had success doing, I was throwing at these guys and gals and trying, and we had, bits and pieces. The other part of a runner that's pretty cool is early on I had a guy named Chris Miller who was tough as nails. He's in Deerfield Beach area.
he went to Deerfield High School. And he probably would have went to Florida, except for his senior year. He went after the race, and probably about 20 meters from the finish line, did a plant. Probably would have went to Florida, but we got him. And man, he was a tough runner. So mentally, I would, just to give you an idea of how tough this guy was. Coaches typically ask, how on race day, how you feeling? Miller, how you feeling, Chris? How you feeling today? Race day. Coach, it's race day. I feel great every day. It's race day. I don't care. It's race day. I feel great. That was the mentality of this guy. So, and like I said, personally myself, I had coaches